In Australia, over 1 million new cars are sold each year, and of that, most of them are imported. And to date, all of them have relied on non-renewable fossil resources. Due to the nature of the internal combustion engine in those cars, they require extensive servicing and maintenance, but they have a limited life, something like 10 years, and thereafter they end up in a place like this. For every litre of petrol burned, 2.3 kilograms of CO2 are released into the atmosphere. Now, a rear-wheel drive car runs at about 20% efficiency. Therefore, 80% of the valuable energy that's in petrol is lost as heat, noise and pollution. So you can see that the road transport industry to date has been a one-way street towards resource depletion. In 2004, my company Deep Green Research started to look at solutions to this problem. We looked at what technology was currently available and what was going to be emerging in the very near future, and it seemed that electricity was the best solution to road transport given the way the world is currently structured. Now, we always will need petrol and diesel into the future, but given that most driving is in cities on short commutes, then the EV is more than adequate to the task. The pinnacle of EV technology can be seen in the solar cars that come from universities and engineering companies from around the world. They bring them to Australia and race them across the inland deserts in the Global Green Challenge. So this was the model we used for our electric vehicle. Deep Green Research contracted former solar race participants and components manufacturers and got them to upscale their technology to be used in a full-size family sedan. We also thought we'd pay homage to the origins of this technology, so we entered the car into the 2009 Global Green Challenge.
It's AC, so it's DC.
Okay. It's even weirder, it's different again. Well, it says 0 volts to that.
Yeah, they're in the back to see if it goes negative.
Right, chasing the towels here, man. I don't understand why the other multimeter isn't measuring anything. It measures that fine. Well, now the other pack's disconnected, it looks like there's a really weak short between positive and the chassis. Yeah. Well, I can't see anything in there that we can actually do about that, so I think we should just put the lid back down. There's certainly not like an obvious short to one of the batteries or something.
The team at Brisbane-based company Tritium builds solar car controllers that are used by the majority of teams from around the world. David and James, the founders, have been doing this since their days at the University of Queensland. They have a keen interest and expertise in building solar cars and EVs, so they're the obvious choice for development of Deep Green. We also used Tritium to develop the battery management system. This was to ensure optimal performance and safety. Ultramotive also have a history in developing solar cars. They've in fact been working on a revolutionary, ironless, rare earth magnet, series parallel wound, in-wheel motor for an EV. It puts out about as much torque as a V8, but it only weighs around 40 kilograms. In comparison, a V8 weighs somewhere near 200 kilograms. They achieved this by building the motor out of polymers, aluminium and carbon fibre instead of iron. Ultramotive were also responsible for other work on the car, including making the battery pack operational, installing switching gear and installing the air conditioning system. Although the best solution for an EV would be to build its own chassis, we didn't have either the time nor the money to do this, so we decided we'd use a donor chassis. We chose the Honda Civic because of its size, ergonomics and build quality. People often ask us if Honda gave us any assistance. The answer is no, we just bought the car off the showroom floor. If we look at the cost differences, we find that off-peak coal power costs about 12 cents per kilowatt hour, whereas green power costs around 17 cents per kilowatt hour. This equates to $300 versus $380 to run a car for 15,000 kilometres. A petrol car costs around 10 times this at around $3,000 per year. Furthermore, when vehicle-to-grid technology becomes commonplace, people will be able to sell their excess power back into the grid during peak times and thus offsetting the cost of running their cars. This will also negate the need to build more coal-fired power stations. Often critics will say that an electric car is just transferring emissions from the tailpipe to the smokestacks of a coal-fired power station. However, if you do the sums, you find that the EV only produces about 50% of the amount of emissions. A truly green transport system wouldn't use coal-fired power at all. In fact, it'd use green renewable power, like solar and wind. By doing this, we'd also create stimulus for more investment in green power. We've built an electric car in Australia on a limited budget, on a short timeline, and basically anyone can own it. This is the story of the EV, Deep Green, and its journey.
Okay, James.
I'll just fire the software up on the laptop.
How long will that be?
Oh, well, do you want to try pre-charging it first?
Yeah, just pre-charge it.
Okay.
That thing's crazy. Okay, you ready? Yeah, it's up.
I didn't get a pre-charge on this. Dave, could it be the sense inside the pre-charge controller?
But that's all completely isolated from the other side. Yeah, it's up.
I didn't get a message from the pre-charge controller that it was okay.
They both came on.
Yeah, it sounded like it. Try it again.
I had voltage on the controller.
Yeah, okay. It hasn't been told that the pre-charge is finished.
Yeah, I measured a voltage.
Yeah.
Well, can you just ignore that for the moment? Just get rid of that check. We gotta test this thing, I think. Oh, the other thing we're gonna have to change is the, I think it's only got 50 amps for the, no, 50 kilograms for the mass of the car too. So it's gonna be pretty gutless trying to ramp up the current. Sorry? Yeah, you're gonna have to change that number. Can you do it on there? That's all good? Well, what do we do? Drop it down and see if we move? Oh. 100 amps to move forward is probably right. It's in parallel, you've got to remember. That's sort of what I expected, to be totally gutless. And you know, it runs fine connected to the laptop on the bench. What's new in the car? I mean, I've done this before with the NSW, just dump the laptop in the car and let it run, and it ran for hours. Well, if we put it on the hoist, we can drive it straight from the laptop and make sure there's no issues there. Yeah, let's just do that. Because we can drive against the brakes, then you can sit in the car and brake it, and I can drive it from the laptop. Make sure we're getting our 100 amps out. Surprised it moved at all with 20 amps, actually.
We've covered nearly 3,500 kilometres in just under 3.5 days, so everyone's really worn out. Just got the registration done in Cloncurry. That was a huge relief. We left Brisbane on Monday without a registered car, waiting for all the paperwork to go through. So that's one weight off the shoulders. When we get to Darwin, We've got to get the car to a workshop to get a wheel alignment and balance. We need to fit some new rear springs. Then we've got meetings all afternoon with the race organisers. It's going to be full on. Fortunately, we haven't hit any animals. We've tried not to drive at night, but we're probably going to be driving through, as I said before, till about 8 o'clock tonight, so we just have to take it easy. It'll be a good idea to get a good night's sleep tonight, and then Saturday 12 o'clock we start the race. So I'm amazed we've actually made it. Well, we've just about made it. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We're at Hidden Valley Raceway and it's the day before the start of the race. The car is yet to complete its maiden run around the racetrack and we still have to pass scrutineering before we run out of time to qualify.
We're pre-charging through these resistors, aren't we?
Yeah. They didn't cause any problems when I took them off. Nothing changed when I took them off. It's when we took the sense line off.
So we should be able to pull that plug out and see exactly the same effect as what you just saw, basically. Shouldn't we?
That's true. If we want to put it back,
that means
put it all back the way it was, then we can just pull a plug and see if it goes away.
That'd be a good check. Let's try that, just in case we disturb something else in there while we're doing it.
No, it's not.
Where'd that go?
That's not bad. Magnetic Diva, please.
Okay, well, we can pull that box out.
One problem solved. I don't know if it actually solved anything, but this.
No.
One possible reason, though.
Yeah.
Luckily, we got the car onto the track at sunset, and even though there were some remaining glitches, the car ran sufficiently well to qualify for the race. This was the first time that the car had truly been driven, putting all of the complicated systems to the test.
How long have you been working on this project for?
I've been working on it for about 4 years. The development of the car has only occurred really in the last 12 months. Before that was laying all the groundwork of putting in applications. State government's been really good. They've kicked in $135,000 for the development of the car. It was called QSEF, Queensland Sustainable Energy Innovation Fund. Queensland Transport's been very helpful in fast-tracking all of the approvals and registrations and everything. Brisbane City Council's behind us.
Are you trying any funding with the Green Car Innovation Fund at all?
No,
You're trying
we just don't qualify. It's set up to help the existing motor vehicle industry. It's actually not set up for full innovation for new startups or anything like that. It's basically set up as a perverse subsidy for an industry that didn't read the writing on the wall.
Here we are, I've got an event which is supposed to be educating people about the whole alternative fuel industry and the Green Challenge. We've got no federal government funding for this at all.
And this is the flagship event for promoting
in Australia. There's
the future.
That's right, there's nothing.
The Global Green Challenge is being presented this year in two distinct parts, the Eco Challenge and the Solar Challenge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is something very special. This is our second all-electric car. I notice its original manufacturer's badges have been covered up.
Thank you.
Take the car to a better location to work on?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, there's probably a roadhouse up there somewhere you can work in the shade.
It hasn't been running properly, so Bernie's been cycling it up on once and theirs have been driving. And they get heated up every time you turn the car on. But they're not designed again, continually turning it on. Bernie's been resetting it every minute or two because we're having issues.
Seems to be a problem with the system. There's a computer glitch in there somewhere. It could be software, it could be an earthing problem, and that then has caused a cascade of problems. It's just unsafe to continue driving the car until that problem's fixed. Then we'll have the car running how it should be running. We're going to trailer the car to Catherine. That way we can work on it properly overnight. It's par for the course, really. These things happen. It's an untested car, and at least we've learnt one lesson, and that is you can't cycle on and off the pre-charge circuits without having some kind of consequence.
It's the best we can hope for.
Yeah, we know what the problem is. We have the facilities, the equipment to fix it. So it's not like our race is over by any means.
Last year we had the same problems, and you just get over all of them. These are fixable, and it'll just be back on the road again tomorrow.
It's hard to be happy in this heat, but well, it could be a lot worse. I suppose that's the best way to look at it.
Last night, I think the number one priority was to get the pre-charge circuit back up and running, which is what we had a problem with yesterday. That involved swapping out a couple of components and replacing them with new ones, but also had a few changes to the software to make it a bit more robust so that a similar thing wouldn't happen in the future. Today's leg is pretty long, and even if we could get in a charge in the middle, it's uncertain at this stage whether we'd be able to cover the full distance. But ideally, I think if we can just get a bit more confidence in the vehicle and get some more kilometres on the clock, then we should be in a good condition to just try for a couple of the other stages later on.
Oh, so it's an absolute prototype drive.
Oh yeah, fantastic. It was assembled the night before it got put on the trailer, and the night before, like running it on the track, basically was the first time it had really run.
Wow. Well, it's a good effort just to get down to Catherine, really.
So we're all very courageous to be out in the desert.
That's how we're looking
Yeah, I
at it.
think so. Are you using one of those tritium wave sculptors in there?
Yeah, so that's the company I'm from, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. So that's what's on all the solar cars?
Yeah.
Oh, not all of them, but I see a lot of them have got the tritium
Yeah,
wave
yeah,
sculptor.
yeah. That sort of was the proving ground for the technology. The solar car control is, you know, a very mature product now, and certainly the majority of the teams are using it. And then we've just sort of scaled everything up to 10 times the power in a fairly similar size.
For this?
For this, yeah.
Okay.
And so this is our new product, and this is the first car it's been in. So this is part of the idea for us is to see how it performs and really, you know, iron out any wrinkles there before we release that more widely.
But all the other teams, no matter what sort of engine they're running, it seems like 75 to 80 is the most efficient.
Well, I think that's the sweet spot between having too much aero drag and just going too slow to make the stages.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're already taking up a bit of gas.
Yeah, no worries, buddy.
See you on the road.
Yeah.
But you could tell when the road surface changed, it was like...
Did you
made like 2 kilowatts different.
Yeah, power consumption dropped a lot.
I mean, it's not only the first 100 k's that we've driven on electric, it's the first 100 k's this car has ever driven. So the battery voltage drops rapidly at the start and then runs fairly flat in the middle and then drops rapidly again at the end. So until we actually do that for the first time, we don't know what range we're going to get out of the car. And this is the first time we've gone even remotely near running the pack down. So the idea is we'll put a bit more charge in it now, and that'll give us, means we can definitely drive it all the way into Tennant Creek without running flat in the last half a K or something.
Trying to keep the current between, I don't know, 30 amps and 80 amps or something. I don't know, it's just like a really boring computer game. There might have been 1 or 2 batteries, because we've got 107 batteries. Obviously there only needs to be 1 bad battery to make everything really painful.
Willie's garage just down the road. The guys are there working on a boat, and they've got 3-phase power. I spoke with the guy who's working there, and he said, yeah, I don't think there'll be a problem.
Right.
But I think we'll scrape together a 6-pack and give it to them or something.
The
The car's been running really well. They've basically solved 2 problems, and the third problem they have bypassed what was causing that fault. So we're just doing the calculations, and under ideal conditions we could be achieving up to 300 kilometres range on the car. And if that's the case, then tomorrow's stage we can do it within the allotted time frame. We can do it in 2 legs, and we charge in the middle. We would be putting in a really competitive stage, and we'd be doing that on effectively 0 emissions.
Car's going pretty good. It's a prototype, and it's prototypes are notoriously unreliable, but this car, I think once it's gradually ironing out all the problems, it'll be